Today, we're literally strapping in and taking a really emotional dive into a car that honestly probably shouldn't even exist in today's automotive landscape. We're talking about a machine that completely defies modern, digitized, and electrified trends, all to deliver this unfiltered, pure shot of driving adrenaline. Yep, we are looking at the brand new Porsche 911 GT3 SC. Okay, let's dive into this. Since 1999, the GT3 has basically been this hardcore fixed-roof track monster. But for this specific car, the first ever convertible variant, automotive journalists and the actual engineers who built the thing aren't obsessing over Nürburgring lap times. Instead, they're talking about it as a musical instrument. They're measuring its success in, get this, smiles per mile. It's entirely about that visceral, totally sensory experience of driving a naturally aspirated machine out on the open road. It's basically a love letter to driving just for the sheer sake of driving. Now, to really wrap your head around this car, we kind of have to look at how it was put together. It's like a giant puzzle. Porsche engineers essentially walked through the garage of elite models and handpicked the absolute best components to build the SC. From the standard GT3, they grabbed that aggressive front end and the carbon hood. Then, from the super rare 911 ST, they took those incredibly beautiful scalloped carbon fiber fenders and doors. The whole open-top ideology, well, that traces right back to the legendary 911 Speedster. But here is the crazy part. They pulled the suspension setup directly from the GT3 Touring. I mean, identical dampers, identical spring rates, literally the exact same part numbers. Normally, without the structural rigidity of a fixed roof, a car gets floppy. But this convertible is so inherently stiff, the engineers realized they barely had to tweak the suspension at all to handle the open-top layout. How cool is that? Usually, right, when you chalk the roof off a sports car, you have to add a massive amount of heavy steel bracing just to keep the chassis from twisting. But what's absolutely wild about this 1,497 kilogram figure is that it isn't some unrealistic dry weight. That incredibly low curb weight actually includes all your operating fluids and a fully topped-off tank of gas. The engineers were clearly obsessing over every single gram here to make sure adding a folding roof didn't ruin that legendary GT3 agility. To put that number into perspective for you, standard 911 drop tops, like a Carrera or a Turbo, they easily tip the scales at 1,650 or even 1,700 kilograms. Finding a modern, fully crash-regulated convertible that sits comfortably under the 1,500 kilogram mark is, well, it's basically unheard of today. You're essentially saving the equivalent weight of 2 large adult passengers compared to a standard 911 convertible. That is a real game changer. And they pulled off this magic trick through some pretty extreme, uncompromising measures. I mean, carbon fiber isn't just an expensive option here, it's mandatory. Hood, fenders, doors, even the anti-roll stabilizers. And those standard carbon ceramic brakes, they shave off over 20 kilograms compared to standard steel discs. Then you've got these stunning forged magnesium wheels, 20 inches in the front, 21 in the rear, dropping another 9 kilos of unsprung rotational mass, which just vastly improves how the car turns in. Even the folding roof mechanism itself uses lightweight magnesium parts. They downsized the battery to a 40 amp-hour lithium-ion unit. And rear seats? Nope. Actually, scratch that. You can get them if you tried. It is strictly a two-seater. So with that roof down, there is literally nothing separating you from the mechanical masterpiece sitting right behind your head. This right here is the emotional core of the SC, a 4.0-liter naturally aspirated flat-six engine pumping out 510 horsepower and 450 newton-meters of torque. No turbochargers to muffle the sound, just an immediate razor-sharp throttle response that practically begs you to push it to its screaming 9,000 RPM redline. You can hear it all, the deep rumble low down, the intake desperately sucking in air, the mechanical ticking of the injectors, and this glorious howl bouncing off the canyon walls. And the best part? It's exclusively paired with a short-throw 6-speed manual transmission. No heavy PDK automatic option whatsoever. This is analog purity, plain and simple. Now, you might be wondering, these hardcore specs aren't just here to secure fast lap times. There's a fascinating backstory. Ask yourself this. Why would a highly profitable company like Porsche make tens of thousands of dollars worth of ultra-premium, super expensive lightweight parts, like those magnesium wheels and carbon ceramics, standard equipment? Why not make them lucrative optional extras like they usually do? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the absolute genius of Porsche's engineering team. It's basically a Trojan horse. Think about it. Under modern global regulations, the amount of emissions a vehicle is legally allowed to produce is actually mathematically linked to its weight. And that glorious 4.0-liter naturally aspirated engine, yeah, it's not exactly what you'd call eco-friendly. If this convertible weighed as much as a standard 911 drop top, it would blow right past its legal emissions threshold and just get banned from sale. No way around it. So Porsche was essentially forced to mandate all those extreme lightweight parts and even force the lighter manual gearbox just to keep the car under the regulatory weight limit. They literally used lightness as a legal loophole to keep their naturally aspirated dream engine alive. Brilliant, right? And they didn't stop there. They employed another really clever tactic in Europe, capping production at roughly 1,500 units per year. By intentionally keeping the volume that low, the GT3 SC qualifies under specific small series homologation rules. And because it's technically a small series car, it legally gets to bypass a whole bunch of those incredibly annoying mass-market modern regulations. We're talking no hyperactive automatic lane keep assist required, that pesky traffic sign recognition. You turn it off once, and it stays off permanently. It doesn't reset every single time you start the car. There is zero active steering interference. The car just trusts you to drive it. It really cements its status as this unfiltered, totally unapologetic driver's car that focuses entirely on the person behind the wheel. So, while this is an extreme $275,000 track-derived piece of engineering, it's surprisingly friendly in the real world. The crucial point to take away here is just how accessible this experience really is. You know, unlike previous hardcore convertibles where you had to pull over to the side of the road and wrestle with snapping a manual tent onto the back of the car, the SCS has a fully automated roof. You just pull a little button on the center console, and that magnesium-framed fabric top completely deploys or retracts in a mere 12 seconds. And it does it smoothly at speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour. So if it starts raining, or if the sun gets a bit too intense, you don't have to ruin your canyon carve to pull over. It completely transforms this extreme track weapon into a genuinely usable Grand Tourer for literally any occasion. But hey, do not mistake that convenience for a lack of ferocity. The numbers speak for themselves. Top speed, 313 kilometers per hour. 0 to 100 in 3.9 seconds. 0 to 200 in just 11.9 seconds. The whole romantic experience of the wind in your hair and that howling flat six, it is backed up by absolute, blistering supercar-level speed. But all of this leaves us with a pretty profound question to end on. As global emissions regulations keep tightening like a vice around combustion engines, forcing all this massive compromise in electrification, is the Porsche 911 GT3 SC the last great, uncompromised, naturally aspirated sports car we're ever going to see? I mean, is this brilliant, loophole-exploiting masterpiece the ultimate finale to an entire era of pure driving? It is definitely something to seriously think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this breakdown was as thrilling for you to explore as it was for me to put together. Until next time, keep learning and keep driving.